Imagine a plane flying perfectly on autopilot for hours. The pilots are unconscious. The passengers are unconscious. And no one on the ground has any idea what's happening inside. This is the chilling story of Helios Airways Flight 522. On August 14, 2005, Flight 522 took off from Cyprus, headed for Athens. It was a routine morning flight carrying 121 people. The Boeing 737 climbed into the sky, everything appearing perfectly normal, but a critical error had already been made. Before departure, a maintenance crew performed a test on the aircraft's pressurization system, the system that keeps the cabin air breathable at high altitudes. After the test, they forgot to return one single switch from manual back to auto. It was a small oversight that no one caught during pre-flight checks. As the plane ascended, the cabin pressure began to drop. It was a slow, quiet, invisible enemy. Inside the cockpit, a warning horn blared. But this was a disaster within a disaster. The sound was identical to a takeoff configuration warning, an alarm the pilots often heard on the ground. Confused, they believed it was a false alarm or a minor issue and started troubleshooting the wrong problem. Meanwhile, oxygen levels were plummeting. The first effects of hypoxia are subtle: lightheadedness, confusion, and slowed thinking. The pilots contacted ground support, their voices already sounding strained. They described a problem with the air conditioning cooling system, completely misdiagnosing the life-threatening pressurization failure. Within minutes, their ability to reason was critically impaired. At around 18,000 feet, the passenger oxygen masks automatically deployed. It's a terrifying sight for anyone still conscious. But these masks only provide a limited supply of oxygen. Typically for about 12 to 15 minutes, just enough time for pilots to descend to a safe altitude. But the pilots were no longer capable of doing that. The aircraft continued its climb. Radio communications grew delayed, then unclear, and then they stopped completely. Air traffic controllers in Athens tried to reach the flight again and again. Silence. The plane leveled off at its cruise altitude of 34,000 feet and continued along its programmed route. A ghost ship flying silently across the sky. The Greek Air Force scrambled two F-16 fighter jets to intercept the unresponsive airliner. When the fighter pilots pulled alongside the 737, the scene they witnessed was horrifying. The first officer was slumped over the controls, motionless. The captain's seat was empty. Throughout the cabin, oxygen masks dangled from the ceiling. There was no sign of life. For nearly 2 hours, the fighter jets escorted the silent plane as it flew on autopilot. Then, something unbelievable happened. A figure appeared in the cockpit. It was a flight attendant, Andreas Prodromou, who had remained conscious using a portable oxygen bottle. He had some basic flight training and was now trying to save the plane. The fighter pilots watched as he sat in the captain's seat and desperately tried to regain control. But it was far too late. The fuel tanks were nearly empty. One by one, the engines began to flame out. The aircraft started a slow, uncontrolled descent. Without power and without enough altitude to recover, Helios Flight 522 crashed into a hillside near Athens. There were no survivors. The investigation uncovered the tragic chain of events. A single switch left in the wrong position, a confusing alarm, and a crew disabled by gradual hypoxia. This disaster led to worldwide changes in aviation, from redesigned warning systems to updated pilot training checklists. It serves as a haunting reminder of how a series of small, overlooked errors can lead to an unimaginable tragedy. And it leaves us with a terrifying question. What happens when the warnings are sounding, but the human mind is no longer able to understand them? Thanks for watching.